Fragments of silicon. If you assemble all of the fragments, you may be granted a wish.
Well, it turns out we did have the correct and improper music queued up, didn't we?
No, that cue was brought to you by the letter C for cat.
You have one job.
Yeah,
Okay, he
well,
has a lot of jobs, but he has one job related to the music.
Yeah. So what did your cat do?
hit the previous track button.
Like,
Wow.
That'll
Wow.
do it. I have a button on my keyboard. My button has keyboards to control media.
oh,
My
Like-
button has keyboards that control media. Wow, I can't even parse that.
English is hard. Fuck you.
Talking's hard, so technology. Arr.
I do a podcast, so I don't have to talk. Wait.
well, this is setting a tone, but it kind of makes sense since this is going to be a light episode. Given it's pre-E3 time, so yeah. Well, yeah, get the jollies in while you can. We're going to be busy this weekend, like
Oh yeah.
to next week. Like, anyway, with that in mind, welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. I'm your host Adam, and joining me as always is the regular crew. Mac is with us this week. It's been what, 2-3 weeks since you last been here?
Yeah, I'm not making it intentional to not show up. It's one of those things where I have a lot of art that I have to get done, and I keep not doing it. So, yeah.
Why don't you go into that, since it's been a while since you've been on the program?
Well, I mean, between Space Destroyer Hunter, continuing episode 2 of Starship Moonhawk, updating the Starship Moonhawk comic, I have a new metaphor for it now. On the pink side of the business, I owe 36 pages of comics, of which I have just started inking page 1. Actually, I've just completed inking page 1. But,
That's better than not having done that.
Right? Peppermint Saga, Blue-Gray Rhapsody. I have a 16-page storyline that I'm working on right now that I have to do inks and colors for. Let's see. I have to continue shipping a bottle. I have to refurbish a bunch of pages. And then I am doing a little bit of work with Peppermint Saga. 5 more pages of Filthy Pink. So let's see. Yeah, it's quite hectic. So last night I finished inking a page of Starship Moonhawk. We're going twice a week. Try to build up visibility because we have a GoFundMe campaign, which our $2,000 goal is still $1,875 away from being met. So we need to work on that. I have some feelers out for some producer types to maybe kind of sort of help with part of that. So that way I can approach certain named actors more seriously instead of just saying, hey, so hypothetically speaking, if we were to get XYZ money, would you be kind of sort of maybe interested in doing this hypothetically, theoretically? That usually doesn't track well. Especially with the busier named actors. When I say named actors, these are the people that in voiceover are considered A-listers.
People who you say, oh, and this character is voiced by such and such, like, people will have, like, a better than, like, 25% chance to know who you're talking about?
Well, I'm trying to get Vic Mignogna and Richard Epcar.
Okay, better than 50%.
Yeah, so that's kind
We
of...
know at least one of those.
Yeah. we had a contract. I have Kira Buckland. She and I are still speaking. I know, it's
Hooray.
shocking. We have Kira Buckland, Kaylee Mills, Skylar Davenport, and we also have a gentleman named Jeff Strange who will be playing Dr. Farnsworth. He's not as well known, but he has some credits under his belt. And then as our guest star, we had Rachel Messer, who is now in everything. So I'm kind of invoking contracts at this point and saying, well, you kind of signed this thing, so you have to do it. That's not always the best approach, but nobody's actually refusing to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
The key will be keeping them for episodes 2 through 6.
Did your contract have a timeout on it, or is it just...
No, it doesn't have a specific sunset clause. It does have a mutual exit clause, but it has to be a mutual agreement.
Fair enough.
It's a simple work for hire type thing, and I did offer to pay more considering how long they've waited and the rising status of each of the stars. Some of them have been more appreciative of that than others, so we'll see. We'll see. It's very complex. We're doing something vastly more advanced than we did with Starship Moonhawk because we've already started constructing paper doll assets. So we're kind of doing it Archer style, which I think I mentioned before on the old show, but it bears bringing up again because at least then everybody has a common point of reference to look up.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to do it anime Archer style, which is going to be interesting because I don't think anyone has done it that way. I don't think anyone overseas has put together a series that way.
I was going to make a joke about Inferno Cop, but Studio Trigger is weird.
Did they actually use Toon Boom Harmony?
I don't know exactly, but it's a very similar style.
Okay.
I think it's actually less animation within the figures. Some of them are like more static, but...
Well, then we'll say uncommon rather than trying to claim that we're blazing unheard of territory before.
Fair enough.
Yeah, from what I saw of it, it looked kind of like Archer's art style and South Park's art style had a baby.
And then they did really weird shit.
That's mildly upsetting. Actually, more than mildly. So that's a lot of what's going on right now. I have a lot of artwork that is owed, which I'm working on as we speak.
Indeed, you've apparently got a Picardo stream going on at this very moment.
Think of Captain Picard, but say Picardo, like Picard artwork. Picardo.
Picture Art O.
Thank you. That's it. That's the one.
Anyway,
we're simulcasting effectively to my 2 viewers.
Oh man.
Oh man, yeah, that's like only 3 less than we've got live right now on Twitch. That's okay. You've got downloads later. Unless I pay for Picardo, I don't have that option.
Right. And plus, this is just a token effort this week because, once again, the real fun happens this weekend with E3, but
Right.
more on that later.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, anything else from you, Mac?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, there are other minor things, but they're not important right now.
All right. Twilight, why don't you go?
Well, last Saturday I went to see the Solo movie, and it was all right.
Oh,
It was good, but it was not quite like Rogue One. Not quite as good as that.
The chief thing that I've heard about is that it definitely didn't need to happen.
Pretty much, yeah.
Everyone who's gone to it says they liked it. It's just
Yeah, it's not a bad movie. It's
Yeah.
it's filling a hole that didn't particularly need to be filled.
Also, it's a Ron Howard movie, so it's safe as shit. It's always
Pretty
good.
much.
It wasn't originally. I mean,
No, I
he
know.
just doctored it a little bit, but it wasn't.
It's just,
Let me put it this way: the studio made a bigger deal about Lando Calrissian's sexuality than the film actually did.
yeah. Point of order is Solo exists, and
Yeah.
big reason why it's not doing so hot at the box office.
Yeah, I liked it. It was nothing special, basically. Let's see now. We've been struggling with our yard for the past week. The grass is dying, and we're trying to figure out why that's happening. It's definitely not a drought.
I was about to say welcome to my world, but I'm having the opposite problem.
Yeah, it's not a insect problem either. It seems to be a fungus problem. And but after discussing the problem with my cousin in Seattle, he suggested instead of trying to kill the fungus, just to spray paint the grass.
Well, that's the thing.
It seems to be what we're going with.
That's what they ordered in California when people were trying to keep their lawns alive during the drought. Was just they had lawn painting services. They had biodegradable paint that they actually came out there and colored your lawn. I kid you
Yes.
not, that's the thing.
Yeah, I've heard about that being a thing in California. I don't think we got that around here though. Anyway, besides that, I finished up Dragon's Dogma, and I haven't quite started on the game that we have for this weekend. Been working with my computer, and it's not working for some reason. I'm not sure why.
I couldn't tell you.
I know. And hopefully I can figure that out before Friday and this weekend. And that's about it for me.
Okay. All right. Alex?
Not too many new developments here. I almost finished Bloodstained Curse of the Moon. The last stage is hard, but that's how things go. And I've been continuing to play Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition and Splatoon 2 in my spare time, as well as taking some time for the show games. I pre-ordered the Amiibo edition of Mega Man 11 today because don't want to have to deal with trying to find that when it comes out, and it's a GameStop exclusive, and they're kind of butts about things that aren't pre-ordered, so at least I think it's a GameStop exclusive.
Better safe than sorry, I guess.
In addition to trying to do conferences for E3 this week, I have for the trading card game I play, there's a pre-release event that's actually no longer the release because the store got its kit like 2 days after it was supposed to be there, and then we had to wait until the next week for the schedule slot to be available, so that'll be fun. Not a whole lot else really. The weather's been very up and down, and lately it's been kind of on the cooler and wetter side, which is not a ton of fun.
Right. Anything else?
No, I'll pass for now.
All right. Petty Fang, you're up.
Oh, let's see. Not a whole lot's been happening here. Like, we're finally getting estimates for doing the gutters and stuff. We found out the just putting siding on would be about 20 grand. Because apparently we have asbestos siding, so they need to pull that off and then put new vinyl siding on, and
Asbestos siding.
Yes, our house is old.
That's fucking great.
Yep.
So,
If we-
do you have to worry about mesothelioma?
I don't think so, because it's as long as we don't like try and like sand it or anything like that. It's not. There's no dust or anything that's gonna come off of it.
Yeah, stand it. Wow. That would be interesting to put it mildly. Oh, geez, what's wrong with my lungs? I'm coughing.
But yeah, like there's not a whole lot we can do about it unless, we've somehow managed to pull 20 grand out of our ass. So we're probably just gonna get new gutters and probably call it good.
Pumpkins is here. Pumpkin, what do you have to say?
Meow.
What do we have to say?
Oh,
You have anything to say? She has nothing to say. She has nothing to say.
Okay, I
Just like a cat to volunteer to stand in front of the microphone and then refuse to actually say anything.
But yeah,
Volunteer is a strong word. Holding her up and squeezing her like a puppet is probably more accurate.
why the fuck?
anyway, that it from you, Petty Fan?
I rented, what is this? Attack on Titan for PS4, the video game. So I'm gonna give that a shot. And not a lot I can think of at the moment.
All right. As mentioned last week, Ogre is dealing with some sort of family emergency, I guess. I don't know. He hasn't told us anything about it outside of that, and we haven't really prodded him, so not exactly sure when he's showing back up. Like, he wasn't really cognizant of that either. He may be with us during the E3 stuff. He may not. I'm sure we'll have an update as soon as we have an update on that. Outside of that, personal news. I have to take my mother to a specialist tomorrow. It's quite a distance, and her leg is getting better, but it's still injured. So, hence the need to go to a specialist. It's been like 11, 12 weeks now. I don't know. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
So,
I'm still dealing with my knee issues, and that's not fun.
So she wants to find out what's going on there, beyond a general practitioner, and that's going to be maybe not an all-day affair, but it's certainly an all-daytime affair. So fun times there.
Mail delivery.
Yeah.
Keep hearing the jingling.
Yeah.
That's my
Outside
sister's
of that,
dog.
Yeah.
You should go help that customer. Anyway.
Outside of that, I suppose prepping for E3, but honestly, ironically, this has been one of the quieter weeks I've had in a while. Mainly because it being E3 week, we do not have a guest this week, and we do not have a guest next week because, well, people are either heading out to E3 or planning to head out to E3, and that always interferes with our ability to get guests, especially from the game dev sector. But even like people who make YouTube videos, they're dealing with E3.
Yeah.
This is basically the biggest time of the year for us as a show. It's like this weekend it starts the conferences, and we'll be covering some of them. More on that at the end of the show. So it's been like now, but when we get to the weekend, we're gonna be hustling.
We're all going to be all hyped up on energy drinks, praying for E3 to end by this time next week, especially.
Yeah, possibly. But anyway, so in lieu of a guest, we've got a couple of topics talking about two of the bigger news items to come out of the pre-E3 announcements. First up is Pokemon Let's Go. which I believe broke like last Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Thereabouts. It was last week.
Yeah, and I'll let the crew cover this since they're the ones who actually play and like Pokemon and shit.
So this is apparently the first Pokemon game that they were teasing for the Switch, the one that they were teasing when they said Pokemon game for the Switch this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an RPG, but it's not exactly a traditional Pokemon RPG. They're redoing Kanto with all the Kanto stuff.
This is what, the third time we're going back to Kanto?
Depends on how you count various things.
I guess 3.5 if you're counting Silver.
And Heart Gold and Soul Silver.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, depends on how you count things. Anyway, but this time we're doing it with your partner being either a Pikachu or Eevee, and while there are trainer battles that seem to be like traditional ones, there are no wild Pokemon battles just like wild Pokemon Go. Only like not in real life in the game, and it'll have integration with Pokemon Go in that you can bring your Go Pokemon into a park in the game, and there's supposed to be some kind of trading back and forth of Pokemon and presents or something.
Like, it's interesting on how they're going to do that. Like, I have some fairly decent Pokemon in Go. If I could just, send those over to Let's Go Pikachu, and oh wow, I already have a killer team. Let's go roll the Elite Four.
I'm sure there will be rules about who will obey you and stuff like usual. It's also 2-player co-op, so in co-op, you're both going around the overworld at the same time. You both have following Pokemon, which I think in addition to Pikachu or Eevee sitting on your head, you could also like ride an Onix or have a big Electrode following you or stuff. So that's cool and something that has been missing lately.
And also, I think they mentioned the starting Eevee and Pikachu are unevolvable.
I hadn't heard that, but I'm not so. I was kind of expecting that. Pikachu was unevolvable in Yellow, and this is like kind of soft a Pokemon Yellow remake.
Yeah. Like, I think Eevee was evolvable.
Unevolvable Eevee is kind of terrible since that's Eevee's entire thing, but I guess it at least gets some decent moves now. They're like, I don't know.
Well, I think the more idea they're going with that is, unlike with older games, your starter isn't necessarily for battle after, throughout the whole game.
That might be.
Because you can just easily catch Pokemon now in the Go style, so once Pikachu and Eevee start getting outclassed, there's no real purpose to use them for battle. But we'll see where that goes.
It is nice to see a more detail. I mean, the art style is still fairly close to Sun and Moon, honestly, just scaled up for like high res. But
yeah,
it's at least nice to see them. The visuals of the game certainly look nice. But I mean, I've downloaded Pokemon Go now. I hadn't for the longest time because I knew I wouldn't be, any good at it because I don't walk around much. But we'll see. But Pokemon Go is not something I ever really got into, and I would be more concerned about this game except for the other thing they revealed, which is that it's not the only Pokemon game they have planned for the Switch. There's going to be a more traditional RPG for the Switch coming next year. Because this game has some things that, I mean, it's not. I don't think this is. I think this is a good idea for a game on the Switch, but it's not exactly what a lot of people want.
Like, I've seen people get up in arms over this. I'm gonna be honest. I hope that they keep like some of the aspects of this through later on. I'm kind of sick of just the constant battles in Pokemon. That's why I haven't beaten Moon, and had no interest in getting Ultra Moon.
I suppose I honestly enjoy that kind of, but
well, it's all right, but it just gets boring with the tedium of fighting everything.
Yeah, having them be a little bit less random might be good. I can, and it seems like a lot of people who really like Pokemon like a lot of the mechanics of Pokemon, and simplifying a game like this, it's going to be lacking some of those mechanics no matter how they do it.
Well, it's more the Go style is more closer to the whole bug catching thing this was inspired by.
True, you don't, when you're going out to catch beetles, you don't have your Kabuto beetle engage the other Kuwagata beetle in battle before you thwap a net down over it.
So,
Yeah, so there have been more details released since the initial announcements. As for why Pikachu and Eevee, Pikachu, because this game is basically a remake of Pokemon Yellow, specifically that one.
And I mean, Pikachu is the sort of flagship Pokemon
and
of the
Eevee was
franchise.
another star you get in Yellow, so it makes sense.
Well, it's the starter that your rival had in Yellow, but they did reveal that I guess they're taking Eevee as sort of a second series mascot now.
Well, yeah, it's apparently Eevee is the mascot of the second game due to its popularity and abundance of fan art. Apparently, Psyduck was being considered, but was ultimately rejected because, well, he's yellow as well.
I like Psyduck, so I wouldn't complain about that, but I suppose it's less I like Psyduck and more I identify with Psyduck. I like Psyduck too, but I get headaches a lot.
I'm like, well, I think that's the first time I've ever heard anyone identify with Psyduck.
Well, see here, the reason why I phrased it that way is because the first time I played Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, I answered the quiz questions honestly, and I got Psyduck. And at first, I was like, I don't want to be a Psyduck, and then I was like, no, you know what? That makes sense.
This is my spirit animal. To come partner, let us go destroy the world.
Indeed. And yeah, so a big facet we haven't talked about yet is the Pokeball Plus.
Oh yeah, they have this thing. It's apparently compatible with Pokemon Go 2, similar to how the little lapel pin thing they have made up, the Pokemon Go Plus worked. But it's for bringing your first off, you can play the game with it. It counts as a Joy-Con. It only has like one button and a control stick, but
yeah. So it's literally only useful for that so far.
But you can use it for the motion control of throwing your Pokeball, which I'm sure will not result in any broken TVs at all.
It depends how it's weighted, honestly. If it's just
well, you have to do it with the Joy-Con too. This is a very throwy game.
Use your wrist straps, dumbasses.
Yes, use your wrist straps. And this thing actually has like a full-on like arm attachment and finger attachment and stuff. So, but yeah, it's also you can like download a Pokemon to the thing, and
it like basically has a little mini type computer thing in it that you can like interact with your Pokemon kind of like by moving the ball.
Yeah, it'll have a speaker so it can make your Pokemon make noises and stuff, which is interesting because that's not something I really thought about as a feature of Pokeballs, but I guess it's interesting. I assume that like walking certain distances with a Pokemon will get it certain benefits or something, or
I imagine it has to do with like some kind of bond system like they had in Sun and Moon.
And again, like we said, it will work with Pokemon Go too for the catching stuff without having to pick up your cell phone, I guess.
Right.
But apparently it only has like 3 hours of battery.
Yeah, the battery life was kind of short for something that you're supposed to be walking around for extended. Like, I would expect that to be something like, I know that you're not thinking of this as having the same audience as people who like work, but it would be nice to like be able to take it to work and walk around and not have to worry about it running out of battery in the middle of the day. But like I guess for the amount of function or having to recharge it, I guess for the amount of stuff that it does, a higher battery draw makes sense, but it's still kind of disappointing.
I think they probably could have left off the speaker and put a bigger battery in, honestly. Like, I don't mind, using just taking the Pokemon downloaded with you, but the whole like it talking to you isn't really necessary.
Unless that's part of how the whole interacting thing works. I mean, we
Well, they
don't know
could
for
still
sure.
blink the lights at least. Like,
I guess my imagination of this is that it's something like a virtual pet, but
it's basically the Pokewalkers from Heart Gold, Soul Silver.
hmm anyway, it'll be interesting. They are also kind of expensive, but that's not shocking if they're even part of a Joy-Con.
And they might have, like, this may not be the final design. They may be just full Pokeball shaped Joy-Cons. We don't know completely yet.
It is a little, yeah. It's the smaller size of Pokeball.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting idea for a peripheral.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how into it I am.
Yeah, if it's
a
if it's
cool product,
just
but
useful for Pokemon, I don't think I'd pick it up. But if it has other uses, I might consider it.
Well, depends on how it'll be useful. I doubt it'll have much use outside of Pokemon, but it might be useful for more than one Pokemon thing.
Yeah.
I guess that kind of remains to be seen if it'll be compatible with the core game.
And it'll probably depend somewhat on how it goes. And that's another. Speaking of core games, that was another thing that was kind of debated because it's gone back and forth on whether or not Let's Go counts as a core game. What it seems like to me is that it kind of does fit into the remake slot.
Yeah.
Where it's not like progressing the franchise, but it is considered like, hey, this is a Pokemon RPG that like is canon to the universe and everything.
Though people are still pissed that we're not getting the Gen 4 remake.
Yeah, Gen 4, I like Sinnoh. I relate to Sinnoh because I live in Maine, which is Sinnoh is Hokkaido. It's the northeast part of Japan. And but Sinnoh had some things that could use to be updated.
Yeah, like at least it's still playable on modern hardware though.
That's true. It needs it that in that terms it needs it less than any of the others do, because you could literally still play Diamond and Pearl on a DS, although you can't trade online with them. But
Yeah, but can't you still use Poke Transfer?
yes.
So yeah, you can just transfer to Sun and Moon or X and Y, and oh boom, you can trade online again.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, and I'm not even saying that we won't ever be getting those, because they might at some point.
Yeah.
Especially now that the Switch is the new console of record.
Well, and they might end up, the next game might not be Generation 8. They might start with the Gen 4 remake. We don't know yet. That's still at least a year off.
Yeah, the predictability of the structure of the Pokemon generations has gone down since about Gen 4.
Yeah. Like, it'd be safer to probably just try and remake Gen 4 in what's going to be Gen 8's engine as kind of like a beta test to see what they can iron out.
It would also be an interesting challenge because Gen 7 and 6 have very different map structures than Gen 4 did. Gen 4 still was running on the pretty much grid-based stuff.
Yep.
Anyway, so a word about evolutions. Unlike other, proper RPGs and whatnot, you will not be able to evolve either the Eevee or the Pikachu. You can catch and transfer other Eevees and Pikachus, and they will evolve. But your starter, it will stay an Eevee and or Pikachu. And also on the note of evolutions, only the first 3 are available because once again, this is going back to
it's a Kanto game.
Though, I think part of the reason why you can't evolve your starter is because they had the cosplay thing.
Yeah, there have been weird partner Pokemon. Again, in Pokemon Yellow, you cannot evolve Pikachu just because Ash wouldn't evolve his Pikachu.
And you can also ride Pokemon, unlike once again, this game is going with a simpler interface, so nothing like HMs or TMs or anything like
Yeah.
that.
I'm not sure about that. Kanto did have HMs that you had. I guess
it says here.
It's basically they're bringing back the Poke Ride feature from Sun and Moon.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. And also, did we mention that? Yeah, this game is releasing November 18th for $60, so that's going to put it squarely into the paid online era of the Nintendo Online.
Yeah,
I think the biggest problem with the Nintendo Online thing is that they delayed so long in getting it going, so people stopped expecting it.
Yeah, we're going to. I'm guaranteeing you that this game is going to be a big selling point come the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's
no,
Pokemon on Switch. It's going to sell a lot.
Yeah, Splatoon is the only other real strong online selling point I think they have right now.
Yeah, because
that is incorrect.
Oh, right, they have Mario Kart and Mario Tennis is coming out.
Yeah, I'm like, Mario Kart 8 is actually the second best-selling game on the system currently. So, that has a strong online component. I suppose there's still ARMS. I mean, they're still doing stuff.
ARMS is still a thing, but it's not a super popular thing.
Yeah, it's like I'm not sure where to quantify that, but yeah, the point is they've had some strong online games in the past. They're,
but Pokemon has always been a connection seller.
Yeah, it's like, but that's probably not going to be the big one. That's going to be Super Smash Brothers.
That too, yeah.
So, anyway, any other thoughts on Pokemon Let's Go?
Well, a real quick thing about the Pokemon Let's Go online. If you want to trade or battle, you need to pay for online service.
Yeah, to me that's expected.
I would be okay with the online battle, but I'm not really okay with especially how modern trading works.
I mean, the GTS is not most of modern trading.
Well, what basically modern trading has become, like, you're either trading on the GTS or you're local trading.
Or you're communicating with online friends to trade with.
I could never seem to get that to work right, but I guess that's just me.
I don't know. I've had an AIM group, and now it's a Discord group with a lot of people who usually play the game. So I don't know. I think the fact is that trading, and especially the GTS, use just as much server as battles do. So it makes just as much sense to me for them to have required payment.
Kinda, but not really. But I can kind of see it useful to, like, especially with that big exploit for the Switch that was found. There'll be less, hacked consoles trying to put up, basically hacked Pokemon.
Because they've always been terrible at that.
Well, like, that's kind of the whole thing. When they connect to the Nintendo network, they'll be able to see this is non-spec, and they won't be allowed to access.
No, I was just saying the GTS has always been about 50% hacked Pokemon, 50% crappy things you can find on first route.
But with
0.5% something you actually want.
But with the paid online thing where they have to go through the Nintendo's server where they can check if your system's spec. Yeah.
You had to hack something.
Guys, we got to move on.
Yeah. I know.
All right, so Petty Fan, play us to the next segment.
Oh, Echo.
Who? Adam?
I think the Borg has taken Adam.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Yeah. Sorry, it sounded like this whole wave of static just started up.
Yeah, we're getting echoes from your end.
Hang on.
Max is the one who's lighting up.
Yeah.
I have an air conditioner at point blank range.
That would explain it.
Sorry about that. Anyway, so
I'm like, I'll come back for the second segment. Wow.
no, anyway, yeah. So this part we're talking about Mega Man 11. I don't think we've actually talked about Mega Man 11 properly outside of like reporting on it. Like,
Yeah.
but we're mentioning it here because last week it got its release date. It's coming October 2nd, 2018 in Japan. Or, no, it's coming in Japan October 4th. It's coming to the West October 2nd. There we go. Point is, early October, we're getting a new Mega Man game. A thing that, yeah, for a long, long-ass time, we thought we were never getting again. Like,
Considering the fact that the father of Mega Man is no longer part of Capcom, it seemed like they were gearing up towards ending the franchise. But then weird stuff kept happening.
well, they have mentioned that, yeah, Inafune's departure really did affect them. I'm like, I still think that there was a lot of enmity in management towards Mega Man for a number of years, but clearly that's cleared up. I'm like, I'm not sure how much, or if anything, Mighty Number 9 played into the whole saga.
Well, I
Well,
imagine,
if Mighty Number 9 had been really good, they would be less likely to do this.
or if the
nothing else.
Kickstarter failed.
I'm like, but to say that Mighty Number 9 had no effect, it would be disingenuous either. If only, just look at Mega Man 11. It's in a similar style to Mighty Number 9. It's not the exact same style, but it looks closer to Mighty Number 9 than previous Mega Man games. Like,
yeah, although they do still have like Mighty Number 9 kind of did too. Like the jump pose is still the same, although the run cycle is more correct.
Yeah, and Mega Man 11's got the benefit of not having to hit 10 platforms, so it's not going to
especially not hit 10 platforms at once.
Yeah. Well, or attempt to. The 3DS and PlayStation Vita versions still haven't come out yet, and probably never will. But the point of order is, Mega Man 11 doesn't have to compromise its level design like Mighty Number 9 did. Like, and on that note, Mega Man looks like it's finally ready to move forward because, very famously, when Mega Man had its last revival, it went 8-bit again.
And just what we've seen so far from this seems like it's captured the speed of play and the actually having a unique mechanic in every game of the actual classic Mega Man games better than 10 did. 7 and 8 had ridiculously slow play. Is mainly that was the one. And it's not quite as fast and snappy as the 8-bits because there's a certain degree of snappiness that you can only get when you can touch the individual pixels.
Yeah, but here's the thing: Mega Man 7 and 8 felt slow comparison to sister series Mega Man X.
That too, especially, yeah. But I guess what I mean is that they seem to have gotten the feel better now than they had it then.
Right. The principal reason why people, or at least one of them, why people didn't like Mega Man 7 and 8 was because, the graphical fidelity got upped, but it also lost that snappy precision that defined the NES Mega Mans.
Yeah, the run cycle in Mega Man 8 is like 4 or 5 frames too long.
Yeah. Mind you, Mega Man 8 has additional problems.
Speaking of which, we have actual decent voice acting in a Mega Man game now, which I could have sworn was outlawed by some kind of treaty at some point.
I'm pretty sure it's actually outlined in the Geneva Convention.
Just as long as Mega Man
doesn't... You guys are hilarious, but looks aren't everything,
Just as long as Mega Man doesn't open his yap with powers like he did in the PSP games.
Oh,
And excited.
that is the one thing that annoys me slightly is that they have in the trailer him saying rush coil when he uses the rush coil. Hopefully, it won't be every time if you're using them quickly in succession.
Because that has never been a good idea and will never be a good idea.
No.
Nope.
You want to see how quickly voice acting can get turned off?
Yeah, I'm like, it's a reason why I hate the Game Boy Advance remakes of Super NES games. Because they decided to have Mario or Link fucking open their mouths every 2 seconds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Link to the Past
and
is really...
Mario started talking in Mario 64.
Yeah, I know, but he got really
but then
annoying.
they remade Super Mario World and had him talk in it.
It got
Link
really
to the Past was the opposite of improved by having Link actually say "yeah" every time you swing the sword.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. That was rad. What are you talking about? Yeah!
That brings back some memories. Like, anyway, the setup this time around is, well, pretty similar to every other Mega Man game that's come before it, in that Dr. Wily's causing some shit, you gotta stop him. There are 8 robot masters, you gotta plow through them before you head and fight Dr. Wily. Some things will...
This time, Dr. Wily remembered something he was working on in college at Robot University and is using that as part of the basis of his stuff.
I'm like, one has to wonder if Top Man's going to make an appearance. Like, 10 brownie points if you understand that reference.
Indeed.
Anyway, so the big gimmick, for lack of a better term, is the double gear system, which allows Mega Man to engage in different abilities. Speed gear and the power gear. The speed gear slows down time, actually. It's obviously operating on the you're moving so fast, everything is moving in slow motion.
Yeah, it's easier to make everything else move slower on the screen than it is to actually have the player get their perception good enough to be able to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then there's the power gear, which increases your attack power.
And there's some kind of, and as this being Mega Man, there's some kind of overdrive where you do both at once.
Well, if you get critically low health, you can activate both at once and do a big old charge shot. But
the dual gear system is actually what I was talking about them actually, because that's the thing that it's hard to notice when you're just looking at the old Mega Man games because they all look very similar. But
Right.
Pretty much every one after 2 introduces something. You get a charge shot, you get a different charge shot and rush. You have in 6 you have the rush, the different rush powers actually in 4 and 5, and then in 6 you have the 2 different armors that carry on to 7.
I'm not exactly sure what 9 and 10 introduced.
9
They
and 10
actually took
introduced
stuff away.
nostalgia.
No, they introduced nostalgia because they took stuff away because they were going back to emulate the feel of Mega Man 2, which everybody kept saying, oh, well, that was the best Mega Man. Kind of like, Igarashi thought that Castlevania 3 was the best Castlevania ever, like we talked about last time I was on the show.
Yeah,
Yes.
they did technically introduce being able to play as Proto Man and then Bass, but
Right.
that's not much because Proto Man plays like Mega Man, except he has a shield and can actually charge his Buster. And Bass is... I forget how Bass even plays in 10. I don't think I ever really played as him.
He was DLC. Was he DLC or was Proto Man DLC?
I think they both were in one of them.
Yeah, I think Proto Man was DLC in 9 and Bass was DLC in 10.
Anyway,
so yeah, I'm trying to remember if the gears interact with the robot master powers.
I don't think they've strictly revealed that yet, but it kind of looked like they might.
Yeah, it's like we haven't gotten all the details on Mega Man 11 in spite of the release date. In fact, we've only just learned with this, the first 2 robot masters.
Although the way that they leaked the cloth that will be part of the thing.
Yeah, it's like
people picked the names of the other ones up from the cloth or something.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of what's actually been announced, the first 2 are Blockman and Fuse Man.
Fuse
Like-
Man is stock electric dude.
I was hoping we'd get Grenade Man.
We
Like-
already had Grenade Man.
I know, bring
Yeah.
him back.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
Grenade
so
Man.
that way he can say, "I'm Grenade Man."
That's what I'm going for.
I mean, his power is he was used for the demo for the speed gear because he can go super fast. He like jumps up in the air and then dashes down at you like lightning, but you
Yeah.
can speed gear to hit him in the brief time while he's on the floor.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning that the Robot Masters can also use the double gear system since it's, Dr. Wily's project.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Both the power and the speed. Yeah. Like I said, hopefully we see more. We're probably going to see more at E3. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this because this is a game that has been a long time coming. And I'm especially interested to see what they can do without Inifune. Because,
Indeed.
Yeah. This is the new legacy.
Is it coming to PC or is it consoles only?
It's coming to PC.
Yeah, it's coming to everything. Windows, Nintendo Switch. Not sure if there's going to be a power differential between that and the other systems, like PlayStation 4, Xbox One. Like,
No, is it coming for the Nokia N-Gage?
What the fuck,
No.
dude? What's wrong with
Like-
you?
Oh
Everything.
boy.
Also, what's coming is a new Mega Man amiibo,
Indeed.
alongside the Switch version. You're probably going to want to pre-order this.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think it's a
yes.
GameStop exclusive, and amiibos are always relatively short supply.
Not always. I mean,
Almost think that was done on purpose.
Yeah. Not always. Like, there's a shit ton of Animal Crossing amiibos you can get because nobody wanted them. But
That's because they weren't tied to any good games.
I'm aware of that. I'm just saying, sometimes it happens. This is a case where, yeah, I see this going very fast. Like,
Potato
because-
Sniff, one thing that's true with Amiibo is they differentiate between games they're from.
Well,
Yeah.
for some purposes.
Yeah.
And especially,
So there might be some bonus or something that this one gets you that the other one didn't.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm referring.
guys, there's a caveat to all this. Because if you live in Europe, you will not get the amiibo, nor will you get a physical release.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
odd.
It's digital only in Europe. I think
I mean,
this
the
is-
Switch is region free, so you can import if you want. But
Right, but yeah, it was announced a couple days ago that it's only getting a digital release in Europe. So, I
yeah,
don't
the way
know.
that was phrased confused me at first because I was like, "What? They're not releasing it digital anywhere else?" But no, it is getting only a digital release in Europe.
Like, that doesn't necessarily preclude the amiibo showing up there, but considering that the amiibo is tied to the physical release over here,
Yeah, they usually release them separately afterwards in even shorter supply.
that's kind of what everyone's running on, logic-wise. So it's not necessarily that the amiibo won't show up. It's just nobody knows, because what we do know is there's no box that's going to appear in Europe, which is odd because usually it's the other way around. Like, if you're going to do digital only, you do it here. Europe, you would at least get a box and a full physical release. That's usually the domain of Japan. Like,
Yeah.
and there are various reasons behind this, but that we don't have time to go into. But for whatever reason, yeah, Europe's kind of getting screwed over here. Like, maybe that'll change. If that does, I'm sure we'll announce it. Like, and with that, any final thoughts at this point on Mega Man 11?
It's a game that's coming. I've never been
I'm
good at
looking
Mega Man,
forward
so you
to
guys
it.
can have fun with it.
I'm looking forward to it, and Blockman's super powered thing where he turns into a head and then there's a giant stone body. It looks kind of cool.
I'm looking forward to it and have high hopes for it.
Right then.
Yeah.
All right then. So that'll about do it for this installment of Fragments of Silicon. The week ahead, and boy, what a week we got ahead of ourselves. Let's see. On Friday, we have a multiplayer session with Overload. Provided that everyone's games work.
Mm-hmm.
Be sure to check on that before, before or on Friday.
And that's
probably,
the one that everybody got, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think everybody got Super Sports Matching.
No, only I and Petty Fan got Super Sports Match N. Which is here's the thing. Super Sports Match N is a multiplayer game without online multiplayer. It's a local co-op or multiplayer thing. And those are the two games we will be reviewing this Sunday. In between conferences, time is probably going to be tight. So let me get to the big thing, E3. Yeah, as mentioned previously, E3 2018 is almost upon us. We are just a couple of days away from the beginning of the conferences, and we do have the plans to cover some of them. Also, our special correspondent Kevin will be joining us for that. Hopefully, also Ogre gets back from whatever thing he's working on right now. More details as we go forward, but let me give you the start times of everything. On Saturday, June 9th, EA's conference starts at 2 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central. We're probably not going to cover that one just because nobody here really cares about EA.
Yeah, I think the only thing I really care about from EA is the Burnout franchise and the Need for Speed franchise, and Burnout's been dead for nearly a decade, and Need for Speed has sucked for the last decade.
Yeah, my status for EA is I will check it out afterwards and see if they released anything that is interest to me, and then when they don't, I won't be surprised.
I'm like,
That's all specific.
11 a.m. Pacific time. So,
which is what, later here?
Hours.
Yeah, it's like I've got all the conference times here. It starts at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. So Sunday is, the start of things. That's when Microsoft has their conference, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, and that's one of the big console makers, so we're pretty much obliged to cover that one.
Yeah, even if we're laughing at it this year.
Yeah, I'm like, well, it's like I'm going to be interested to see if they have anything, because, they kind of forgot how to make first-party games.
Yeah, I know I've been railing on them a lot, but there's nothing to make me want to buy an Xbox One over the PS4 I already have.
Yeah. So, yeah, in between that, we'll have our reviews, because at 6:30 p.m., 9:30 p.m. Eastern comes the Bethesda conference, which is, what we're usually covering because, it's a good time for us.
So it's interesting to see what else they have there, because they already let the cat out of the bag with the big one, it seems.
Yeah, with Rage 2 and Fallout 76.
That's more what I was going to with.
Yeah, but yeah, they've already announced a couple of things. So Monday, June 11th, this is the big one. We've got 5 conferences. I'm not even
or like 4 conferences and one protracted joke, but the protracted joke gets screen time.
Actually, no. We would have no. That's right. The Devolver Digital one is after the Bethesda. This is an outdated listing.
Oh.
Hang on. Give me a second to look that up.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, the protracted joke.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, that is on Sunday. Yeah, they are doing it. Yeah, Sunday, June 10th at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 11. We're probably going to pass on that one because
it might be. I might check it out. It's funny, but I guess we probably won't be broadcasting it.
Yeah, we won't be broadcasting it. Just follow our Twitters or something.
I don't know. I guess we could decide if we want to after the Bethesda, see how we're feeling then.
Well, because don't we also have to do a review?
That's what I'm saying. We will be doing the review in between the Microsoft and the Bethesda conferences. There's a gap there that we can fill. Like, unless you think we should do it after the Bethesda conference.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, like I said, things are kind of fluid here. Like, anyway, getting back to the Monday schedule, we do have 5 conferences. We start things off with Square Enix. This is not the first time that they are going to have a conference. Contrary to some news outlets, they've had this before. The odd thing is Square Enix is doing it on a Monday. Usually they do it on like Wednesday or Thursday. Usually they do it super late. This time they're starting the biggest day off. And that's happening at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern. We are probably going to cover this one.
Sorry, which day are we on?
That's on Monday.
Yeah.
Like, Galax will probably not be with us.
Yeah, I was going to say, unfortunately, I'll be missing a lot of these just because I do have
It'll
a day job.
probably be me, Adam, and maybe Ogre.
Yeah, and and Twilight's going to be out because he also works during the day. Also,
Yep.
Kevin's going to be with us. Don't
Right,
forget.
yeah, Kevin.
Yeah, and don't forget, he does not have a day job to be concerned about. Let's just say.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to take time off for this, but I don't get that much time off.
Yeah. Save your time off for when you need it.
Honestly, if we were making money off the show, maybe we could discuss that.
Anyway, Anyway, next up is Ubisoft. They will be at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern. That one probably not going to be covering. Just once again, we don't really care about Ubisoft enough. And another thing is the hour before, we've also got limited run games. So,
Who I think was going to be scheduled to be one of our guests one of these weeks, so that's why they're not going to be here.
Yeah, we've been trying to get limited run games back on the program for months now, but either something's come up on their end or something's come up on our end. We're currently targeting mid-July for their return. No promises there because honestly, we haven't really been in communication with them because, well, obvious thing is obvious.
It's pretty cool that they have enough to be worth having their entire conference, though.
Yeah, and that conference is happening on Monday, June 11th at 3 p.m. I'm like, we might be covering this one once again because we know these people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it all depends on how we feel.
Yeah, and remember, they won't be like announcing new games probably, but they will be announcing special editions of games you were not expecting to get physical editions of.
Right. At 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, we've got the PC Gaming Show.
We were going to skip this one, but then they announced that they have a bunch of stuff, so maybe we won't.
Yeah, it's like we might end up covering this one, especially if we're taking a break between Square Enix. I'm like, once again, these things might solidify more as we get closer to these conferences. But one I can definitely say we will be covering is Sony. They are the last one for Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. So that's the evening detail. Presumably Galax and Twilight will be with us for that one.
Probably, I think.
Yes. This is what I'm presuming.
Sorry, I've been trying to find an up-to-date chart.
Yeah, it's like I can give you the thing that IGN has. This is what I'm going off of.
I will do my damnedest to add that to the events section of the Twitch page. So
just note it doesn't have Devolver Limited Run here.
Fair enough.
So
Well, again, Devolver is a protracted joke, so.
I know that. I'm just saying it doesn't have those listed. Anyway, yeah. Obviously, we're going to cover the Sony show, and on Tuesday, June 11th, the final pre-E3 conference, Nintendo. They will be starting at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. We will be covering that as well. Not too far off from when we usually do a Tuesday show, so it's just Galax is probably going to be here for some of that.
Yeah, I will probably have to leave early.
Do we know the lengths of any of these, or is this one of those we'll find out?
We do not. Twitch published some lengths, but those might not be accurate.
Mhm.
Like, they said the Nintendo thing's 45 minutes, but they also said, whatever the Microsoft one was wrong. These things could run 30 minutes to 2 hours.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to be here for the Nintendo one, but I'm not sure how much of it I'll be able to make it for.
But
Obviously, that's the one I care the most about, because, I'm a Nintendrone.
But yeah, so happening next week on the main show, we'll probably be talking about the Intellivision. I'm not joking because Intellivision Productions just announced as a thing they're bringing back the Intellivision. So I don't think we've talked about the Intellivision.
That's one of the older TV consoles, right?
Yeah, that's one.
79 by Mattel.
Yeah.
I can't remember if that's the one my parents had or if it was the other one.
I currently own an Intellivision, a ColecoVision, and an Atari 2600 Slim.
I mean, the mini consoles are big business now, so I guess it makes sense that we would see a mini Intellivision if that's what they're going for.
And these days, you could probably fit in a mini Intellivision, including a full library of every game ever released for it. It's approximately the size of your thumbnail.
Probably. It's just, oh god, those controllers.
Remember when they thought 8K was huge?
More than your frame will ever need. Looks at my computer with fucking 8 gigs of RAM and 2 terabytes of storage.
Out the tape drive.
Oh yes, the George Pimpleton ads. Yeah. So there's quite a lot of ground to cover here, but until next week, I wish you, or really until a few days from now, I wish you good gaming.